Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Well, hello there.
Well, hello, Michael Moore.
These intros are always so weird because it's not like we're just seeing each other and we're like, hello. It's more like talk for 5 minutes and then, let's start the show. Oh, hello. Funny seeing you here.
Put on your actor hat. Remember, you're the star of the show. That's how it works. We pretend like we're just seeing each other for the minute, this first very second.
What's my motivation?
Motivation is to be a good actor, and a good actor does not explain the background. You're just in it. You're in it.
So, how was your Thanksgiving?
I did a whole lot of nothing. So that's what since we told them that we were talking ahead of time, I said to Michael, well, what do you want to talk about today? Because I could talk about a whole lot of nothing, because that's what I did. Should we have a show about nothing? We can name it Seinfeld.
I was just about to say they already did that. Yeah, we could always have a show about nothing. But I heard something interesting on the radio this morning, and I wish I had more information about this, but I've heard about it over the years anyway. But did you know there are different factions of these United States, this perfect union of ours, this a more perfect union, Moore, perfect union. That
pun
actually,
intended.
Absolutely intended. And just for everybody, I'm actually at work today on the Daily Planet, so just
for those that aren't geeks like him, that's Clark Kent's newspaper. So today, last time he was Superman, now he's Clark Kent. Like, okay, all right, please carry on.
So anyway, did you know, or are you aware that there are different geographical locations within these United States that want to separate from this perfect union and form their own country?
I have heard.
That's a lot of head nodding for I have heard. I'm kind of aware.
Because, it's not just states, although I'm sure that the news will have it separated, politicized, and all of this, right? I don't think it's just states. I think it's society in general. Like we said, there's a fissure. Spell fissure.
It's Fisher.
No, that's a fissure.
I was aware of that when I spelled it. That was just to give you a laugh.
Oh, you were testing me. I got it.
Yes, fissure is actually spelled. The technical difficulties there. So it's not necessarily just states wanting to leave the United States. It's actually states even wanting to divide. Actually, this perfect state that we're in of California has long wanted to divide into at least 2 separate states, possibly 3, Northern, Central, and Southern California.
Like I said, I think like LA and what was it called? San Francisco are really like
what was it
planets of their own. They're literally planets of their own, but they can't secede because if they become their own country, like I said, someone's going to blow them up just because they are trash. They are trash. And
let me just tell you a personal fun fact about Michael Moore. If I could live in one place, if I could afford to live in one place, probably on Earth, it would be the Bay Area. I love the Bay. I really do.
Listen.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, there's beautiful areas, but
in the temperature sense and in the fashion sense and in the cultural sense, it's cool,
in the cultural and social and
right
governance sense, it is the opposite of anything cool. That's the problem.
Who cares about all that stuff?
I wouldn't if they stayed out my business, but they're more and more encroaching in this state on my business which means you can't enjoy. How are you supposed to enjoy life when they're trying to tell you what you can and can't do? No, I can't do it.
You ain't got no business.
That's true.
You
I ain't
ain't
even
got
got
no
no
business.
business.
Anybody's
What are you worried
interested.
about them encroaching on your business? You ain't even got no business.
I was in, this is just a little funny side story. I was in Vegas for Thanksgiving, and we were at a Top Golf, and we sat in next to this nice family, and they were really nice people, and they from Orange County, California. And I think if you remember Top Golf when we all went there, it's like super loud, so sometimes it can be hard hearing people. So one of the ladies in their party asked me about vaccination.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm vaccinated, but you know, it's kind of stupid where they're going with all of this. And her face just got all sour, right? And I was like, oh,
I live for this. I wish I was there.
I was like, did I mess up with my new friends from Orange County? And so I kind of tried to like feel her out, like maybe she didn't hear me or something. And so I said, are you vaccinated? And she was like, and she was not happy with me from that point on. And I was like, look, man, my wife is a nurse. We got vaccinated.
Why is she not happy with you? It's like, it's your choice. That's
well,
the thing.
she, but she was actually really sweet. They were really good people. But I just thought it was funny because the reason why I thought of that is because Orange County is a different universe than even LA County, and we're neighbors. So it's like literally a culturally just different place, political ideology, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people don't realize that about California in general, and especially LA. I mean, LA is really its own special sort of area. And even if you talk about like New York, like I don't even think it's the same. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but you've got your own special stuff going on here. But okay, so what would a state, let's say California, wanted to separate? And what would it have to do? And would it ever be?
It'll never happen. It's all
okay,
just
but let's
talk.
consider like what would they have to do to actually make it happen? Like, and
Well,
why not? Why couldn't? If
for
they
the same
had
reason that the Constitution would never ever be amended again, because you have to have too many people on one side of an issue, and the numbers just don't bear out any big changes anymore in the United States. Like literally, like if you can get 60% on something, that's like considered a super majority. And I think, and I'm no constitutional scholar or anything, but I think you need like 75 or 80% of the voting public to vote for it. Then you need that same percentage within the state Congress or whatever to go along with it. And then there's actually like a federal element where they actually have to like let you go, because essentially we're all owned by the feds, right? Even though we got states' rights and we're individuals and all that. Now we're the United States of a perfect union, a more perfect union.
Oh, now we're perfect, huh? Before you thought we were not perfect, but
I am being probably more sarcastic than is humanly possible right now. But I'm trying to remain objectively, intellectually here for you in this conversation.
I have to say, I still have to disagree with you that I have to say, even despite the fact that it pains me to admit it, with all this shit going around with COVID and trying to be tyrannical with the law.
With COVID and what?
Trying to be tyrannical with the laws they're creating because of it. But I still have to say that we are probably one of the freest, if not the freest country out, even in all of Europe.
I still, every time you say that or anybody says that, it's not just you, I just have no idea what freedom means. Like, what do you mean we're free?
Okay, I've been saying this a lot on Twitter. Oh, I've been going crazy on Twitter because everybody loves to. So we've redefined a lot of words during this pandemic, and literally like went to Webster and redefined them to fit our narrative. And by we, I don't mean me. I mean the people who are trying to profit and or gain power from these redefinitions, right? They redefined herd immunity. They redefined the vaccine. They've redefined anti-vax. They've literally changed definitions of words. And the word that I hate the most that they've redefined is freedom. And they've redefined freedom to mean responsibility for your society. That is not what freedom
What does that even mean?
means. People are like, oh, you can't have freedom without responsibility. You can't have freedom without part. No, actually, here's what freedom means. The definition: to think, act, or do as you want without restriction or hindrance. That's freedom. That's it.
The
That's
fact
freedom.
that you know that off the top of your head means that you are way too involved with Twitter.
Means I'm way too involved with my life and ensuring that my children have a free future. Yes, I am.
Do you know what freedom for Michael Moore means?
What does it mean? But then I want to get to why you were saying, I don't know what freedom is, because that's the issue. I mean, there's a lot of hindrance and restriction on things that are meant to be free, but overall,
in fairness to the succession conversation, the succession conversation has been going on for a few decades, Nichoel. So this is not a COVID advent. This has been going on forever.
oh,
But anyway,
yeah, sure.
My simple definition of freedom would be: allow me to go to the gym without a mask.
But you just go.
Well,
You
I
are
do
free.
it. I do it, but then the little girls walk around and they go.
And then you
And
put
it
it up,
annoys
and then
the
you
hell
take
out
it
of me.
down, you smile, okay.
Yeah,
And
just-
then when
but
they
I'm
walk
so-
away, and then you put it down, and then, okay.
Well,
okay.
maybe I should go deeper into my definition. I don't want to carry a mask on me anymore. I'm sick of them.
Well, then that's when you have to start talking, because when we just allow freedoms and civil liberties to be encroached upon consistently, no matter how great but your society, like, first of all, we could go forever into really is, no, it's not. But anyways, is this helping? No, it's not. The masks, the mandates, none of it is helping. So no, it's not. But on top of that,
You know what? And what's funny? And I'm so tired of starting off wrong in this COVID conversation. Like I've started off wrong. This is hard for me to say. You know me.
You're gonna admit
hard for me to say.
failure. Let me hear.
Support me, please.
Tell
Pat me on the shoulder from afar.
Tell mama everything.
Please give me all of it. I need that support. Listen, this is tough. This is tough. I realized in listening to the news this morning, which I try not to do, but just happened to be up very early and there was nothing worth watching on. So I watched some news. And they happened to be talking about this Osama bin Laden variant. What's it called?
Omicron.
In your butt, whatever. Okay, there you
Yes,
go.
that's what it's called.
That's not a Greek letter, by the way, is it right?
Yes,
Because
it
O
is
is Omega.
Omicron. No, it's Omicron. I don't know what Greek letter it is, but it's called Omicron. I don't know. Like it's.
Oh my goodness. So listen.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's what we call it.
I realized that. See, I hate this. This is so rough for me.
You're going to tell me I'm right. I know this.
I should do this off. I should do this off stream. I shouldn't be doing this.
I want to hear. No. I want everybody to hear
in public for all 30 people.
I want everybody to hear, all 62 of them. Go ahead. Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
I hate the fact that you.
I'm listening. I'm listening really, really well. Keep going.
Seem to be mostly correct. Nichoel,
you know what I hate?
No. Just wait. I gotta get it out or I'll never get it out.
Oh, more. There's more. Okay.
Give me the floor. Can I have the floor?
You may have the floor, please.
Thank you. Just support me right now. Just let me. Listen. They want us to stay in this perpetual, constant state of, oh my God, the new variant is out. I'm going to die. I watched the news this morning at about 4:45, Nichoel, and I thought to myself, if I wasn't half asleep, I'd throw my phone through the TV right now. Because why are they so hell-bent on scaring everybody? What is the mission? Can't we all just make money without trying to scare people? Listen, I'm not done yet. I know it's hard for you.
No, I like this. This is good stuff. I like this. Please.
I saw this what I consider to be reasonable, well-spoken, intelligent female doctor from the great country of South Africa And she was like, essentially, these are my words. I'm going to use my words for what she said. Why is everyone getting their panties in a twist? This thing is not even as bad as Delta was. It's nothing. Move on. And the news person interviewing her wanted her to say something so inflammatory, so bad. You could see him oozing, like, please tell us 800,000 more Americans are going to die because of this. Why is that the mission? I don't get it. I feel like I'm honestly lost in a land of just a foreign land to me. And so I realized, coming back to my true confessions right now, which nobody is going to hear, I've been right about like one thing on this, and that was the and that was the fact that it was going to go on forever. I told you that in the beginning. Outside of that, I can't see where I've landed correctly on much of any of this. This all feels like a four flush forever. I'm just four to the flush, never gonna hit it, money gone. Okay, I'm done now. You can go.
God, that's beautiful to hear. You know, that is really beautiful to hear. I wanna say a couple things. Number one,
Okay.
please never doubt me again. Number two,
I'm gonna have to, because you start off so crazy, and then it's like, this chick is crazy. If I didn't love her, I would never talk to her again.
well, that's the
And
thing.
then
When
like
you
6
see
months later,
so
it's like, wow, why was she right on that?
but I want to direct you to the fact that that's happened to you with things I've said quite a
That
few
has happened.
times, quite a few times.
At least 3.
So I'm not saying I'm clairvoyant, but I'm not saying I'm clairvoyant. You know, I'm not saying that I don't see things very clearly. I'm not saying that I have an amazing BS detector for that. That's bullshit. I detect bullshit immediately, and I
You know what
don't
the
stand
last of
for
my
it.
predictions is, right? You know what the last of my predictions is? That you're gonna walk out of your front door and somebody's gonna tackle you and stab you with the vaccine. If that happens, I'm 2 for 10, baby. 2 for 10.
Those are good odds. Those are good odds. Listen, it is hard to combat a majority. And clearly, when we have people, leaders, right, who
Wait, who's
are,
the majority?
I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
Right. So when we have leaders who I believe are being led by even other people with more money, right, and trickling down through the government, through the
course.
media, through everything to
sure.
inform
Yeah, yeah.
society of a certain narrative, it is very hard to not be part of that majority that believes it. Right. It's when it's laid out that way, when you have the ability to create narratives that way worldwide, when you have the money, and now what scares me is now they have even more. They've made trillions and trillions more through all of this, right? Imagine the power they're going to have if we don't see, right? But when you can do that, and unsuspecting us had no idea, we've just been living our life, we've been doing so good, and yeah, there's been some bullshit going on, but nothing terrible. And so most of us don't expect that. And so when people like me said right away, like, no, fuck this. This is not right. This is not the data. This is not, these are the not, you know, the numbers. Here's the issues. None of this is being talked about. People are like, no. You know, you have to listen to what they say. And it's hard to combat that because the majority believes, you know, they, if nothing else, they want to believe. You want to believe that there's not people out there that are fucking corrupt and doing stupid shit. And that doesn't mean you're a conspiracy theorist. It means it's just truly what reality is. It's what reality is. They're running their own game and we're the pawns in it. And
so, yes, I agree with like everything you just said. So I have a question / statement for you. Because this particular statistic just literally confounded my, like, how do I feel about this? I don't know how to feel about this. And that's a very frustrating feeling for me because I'm usually pretty decisive on my feelings about whatever. So did you know that according to the media or the WHO or what is the other one, the CDC, Do you know that more people have now died in the 1 year since Biden took office than when Trump was in office?
Yes.
Okay, so here's why I'm saying that, right? This is not a blue-red thing. I have a very confounding thought process on this one. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that those numbers are correct, right? And we're not being fed BS. And everyone that died under Trump really died of COVID, and everyone that died under Biden really died of COVID, and that's what it is, okay? How are reasonable, rational people supposed to feel, whether you're blue, red, or other, about the fact that clearly nothing anyone's doing is bettering societal health, right? Because if we're all wearing masks and we're getting injected and we're getting boosters and second boosters and third boosters, and we're not traveling to certain countries, and certain countries can't travel here, and we can't go to the gym without wearing a mask, and we can walk into a restaurant with a mask and then take off the mask as soon as we sit down. Like, how is anything actually helping, even according to their information and their data and their statistics? So even if you weren't some far out kook that just like was reading, somebody's blog from their basement, their parents' basement or something, right, getting your info, if you just take the information that's being given to you from the people we're supposed to like look at for credence and respect and legitimacy, right, they're basically telling us y'all are still dying at the same rate and higher with all the restrictions. So I don't know how to feel, Nichoel. Can you help me? Maybe this episode should be titled, Let's Help Mike Today.
Well,
Mike's having a lot of issues.
We should title it Cognitive Dissonance, because that's what it is. It's an disability, unable to face reality and face facts in light of the fact, again, that the leaders, the government, the media, everybody is telling you that the sky is green and the grass is blue. They're literally telling you that. Like you said, the data is coming directly from the same sources that they're telling us to look to trust the science. And yet what they are reporting on the science is contrary to what their own science says. And so again, it's you have to be able to understand that you have got to use that beautiful brain. And no matter how much of a smear campaign they have ran on constructive and critical thinking, which they have, they've made anybody who thinks for themselves, ask questions, sound like they are somebody who is reading blogs of people's in the basement, reading Facebook, reading, right? Those people are the stupid ones. They've run that smear campaign. And it's fucking ridiculous. We all have a lived experience. We all have to trust what we see and what we feel and what we do. What they have done is they've made it very, very real to not trust your own experience, to not trust yourself, to not trust the things that you're seeing with your own eyes, to instead listen to the hyperbole and the fear that they are spitting out constantly, and to constantly be in that state of anxiety and worry. And then people said, well, and like you said, this was really interesting, because we knew this instantly, like literally March of 2020, we knew it was not killing at the rate that they were saying it was. And that's not even to go into the fact of,
well, I thought it was, if I'm being honest. I thought it was until I really started doing my own sort of research.
I knew in March of 2020, a lot of people did, but of course, any of those that even tried to discuss it, even logically, radically, scientifically, scientists, doctors would say, hey, let's get in a room and let's really discuss this. They were shut down, banned, censored. That there's so many ways to go about and look at how this entire narrative has really destroyed, any kind of faith in any of our institutions for me in society. I really have none left. Luckily for me, I'm very smart. So, I can think for myself, which is good, but it leaves little hope for the rest of society when I can clearly see that there is a lot of corruption within our health institutes, within our governance, within our leaders. Luckily, there are good people that are coming through this as well. And there will be, that's how it balances. You have huge corruption. There's going to be like huge anti-corruption, hopefully in the government that's going to lead us out of this. But
the problem to me is that it's all, and it hasn't become this, it has just been this. It's all so political on both sides of the aisle. There's no like logical, reasonable, rational, critically thought out responses to just about anything. So example would be person A is a Democrat, person B is a Republican, right? Whatever either one of those people say, the other person is going to refute, and going to refute with great passion and discourse just because it came from the other person's mouth. So I did something last night. I have to admit this. I feel like this is just a confessional right now, and you're my priest or something like this. I watched 2 hours of Fox News last night, okay?
Good for you. Good for you.
No. So by the way, I there was a time in my life when I used to listen to Fox News a lot, not because I was right leaning, but because I actually thought some of the people on there had good things to say and they were decent people. And again, just my dad was a Republican, so I'm sort of used to Republican viewpoints, right? So it's not like foreign land, but I haven't watched Fox News probably in 2 years. Let me put it like that. At least that. I haven't watched a Fox News program. And so last night I purposefully turned to Fox News just to hear like, what are they saying about Democrats and so forth and so on. And of course, some of them speak in pejoratives. They talk about Biden, and I know I'm going to see that. But a lot of it was, we don't understand how we're being governed right now, right? The sort of reasonable responses were, we don't understand how we're being governed. You have these numbers in front of you, you see what's going on, and you continue to march down the same paths that you've been marching down for the 2 years that we've been dealing with COVID. And what has it gotten you? Because according to your own numbers, right? They're talking about like blue source numbers. Everyone's still dying at the same rate. But if you look at it reasonably, that rate is still less than 1% of people who contract COVID.
And they were saying this on Fox News.
Fox News. And so it kind of made me think to myself, you know what? The real problem here is not the people with the money, right? The people with the money are just gonna be the people with the money, and they're gonna keep on making that money. And that money is generations and generations and generations old, and it's going forward, marching forward. The real problem is the news has all of us brainwashed, and we don't know it until we take the blue pill or the red pill. Which pill is the good pill?
That it's a red one. We already have
red pill.
We're that should be having a slant, right?
There you
we're coming full circle now, Michael. You're coming to see it, you know?
You love when I give you an excuse to say that should be having a slant. But anyway, listen. I've realized now more than ever that, so I consider myself a very intelligent person, and I consider myself a reasonable person, right? But I have to admit something else in this confessional here today. I have been completely affected by news media, various news sources, and I'll tell you how. Because I just was unwilling to just even listen to anyone speaking on Fox News. Now, for the most part, I still think, we don't think alike, but I think there's a big part of me now that's saying like, but that's okay. But I just wish everybody would see the real problem is we've all swallowed the blue pill, and we don't even give each other a chance to have a vision of what the real issues are. And it's not the people at the top making all the money. The people at the top are making all the money as a symptom of everybody on the bottom infighting and allowing it. So if we didn't allow it, right, then they wouldn't be doing it. They are simply taking, let me give you an example that would be close to home, right? It's akin to sitting on a poker table, speaking Farsi, right? And you're in a big hand with someone else that speaks Farsi, a language that probably 2% of the world speaks, or at least in America speaks, right? And that person is literally saying what he has in his hand to another person, assuming that I don't speak Farsi, right? Because everybody else on the table speaks English, right? And then all of a sudden, I win this huge hand, this huge pot, and they're looking at me like, wow, how did he even know that I had 3 high and he called with 4 high, right? I had all the information. Well, that's the way I see the 1%. The 1% has all the information. We're giving them all the information. We are literally handing over to the richest of the richest of the richest of the rich. I look at Amazon, for instance, right? Now, I don't care that Jeff Bezos is worth whatever he's worth. I don't give a damn. I really don't. I don't have enough time or energy or inclination to worry about who has what amount of money. But what I do think is you are making, I heard something like this guy makes like $150,000 an hour. It was something stupid, like $12,000 a minute while he sleeps, by the way. Okay. The conditions, that his people work under, from what I heard, are pretty sad, right? But all these people got together and they're like trying to band together to form a union or whatever to improve their conditions. I really admire those people in that Amazon who are taking their destiny in their own hands and they're saying, look, Jeff, you've got all the money in the world. There's no reason why you can't make $11,000 a minute and not 12, and just improve some of the conditions that we work under. If we could figure out a way as Americans to band together and tell the top 1%, who control the media, by the way, and who control the government, okay? You don't need $12,000 a minute, take $10,000 a minute, whatever, right? We could make such great change. Like this thing with COVID frustrates me more than anything because of it's almost like, again, like I've taken the red pill and I can see, like, do you guys see, like, this is so just an effort to keep the news cycle full so they don't have to, go to the pumpkin patch picking Halloween thing for an hour today. They literally just can stay in the studio and talk about this stuff. Like it's so overblown. It's so ridiculous.
Yes. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
This is why I think the whole succession thing comes into play, because I think there's a huge contingent of people now, blue and red, because I saw that literally there's almost even splits of like everybody wanting to get away from America, right? That are just like, we're fed up. Like, so there's people fed up on the red side and there's people fed up on the blue side.
Yes.
They're all fed up.
It's like I said, it's freedom versus slave. That's what it is. It's not red and blue. It's not, and it's what you're saying is, having these, it's an ideology, right? Your political party is your ideology, and you will not falter from it. You will not, because if they did something in the past, the other side, then I won't look at anything they're saying today. And, you can't do that. And that's, like you said about Fox News is, as I'm sure they've had a lot of hysterical things on in the past, but I can tell you today, most of the most sane, logical, thought-provoking clips that I do see, because I don't have the news, but I see it through social media, is coming from their pundits or their journalists or whatever you want to call. Whereas in the past, it might not have been so. And it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, you can watch, and you should. And I even tweeted something about that, as if you ever condemned Fox News in the past, but now consistently watch MSNBC, then that's a joke, because every single headline on MSNBC nowadays is just created to divide. Every single one. When I see it, I was like, what the fuck?
So yes, I wouldn't disagree with that, but I will say that the problem is on both sides of the fence, because
Sure.
Because the programs that I watched, I could tell that there's an entertainment component that each host injects into their show, clearly for the sake of just, it's like clickbait for your ears, right? They need the people to stay and listen, because that's how they get ratings. So they'll say something super inflammatory, right? Joe Biden's stupid, whatever. I don't know what they might say, right? And then after they say that, they'll give like 2 or 3 sort of salient points about, like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? And then you have to actually kind of think for yourself, like, yeah, why is he doing this? I feel like I'm at the point where I've just gotten frustrated with feeling like I'm in a minority of people who actually don't hate anyone and could work with anyone.
You're not,
and
but that's
don't have anyone to work with.
That's the thing. I think that's the other thing about starting to see taking the red pill, whatever it is that no matter how many others, are out there, because I know there's a lot out there that feel the same as us, you still feel isolated. You still feel like you're the only one, like there's no one like you, like, because again, it's that immense pressure coming from all of, the governance, the media, the society, it's this immense pressure to conform to what their ideal is. And when you see past it, then you just feel so completely alone. Like, well, fuck, now what? Now what do I do? But you're not. And that's how I always tell you, like, most people don't hate. The fact that you hear it is simply something that they're pushing. Those headlines that so many news articles push, when we had the discussion about racism, I think it's so prevalent in headlines, and yet in your lived experience, you've had experiences with racism, you have. But is it something that you see every day, nonstop? Hate, division, fear, and that's what I'm saying. You have to
not outside
trust
of the news. If you stayed on the news, you would,
that's what I'm saying. You have to trust your lived experience and then ask why. Why is every news article like that then? And you begin to understand and to see how it all works. I wanted to point out something that I think is super interesting. Maybe you saw it on my Twitter, but I was going to show everybody, because this is kind of fun to do. Let me share it.
I actually deactivated my Twitter account. I was just
did?
like, you know what? I can't do any more social media.
So this is political compass. So I wrote this because I've always been a political moderate, always. Like I know I have. I don't follow politics. I don't give a shit. I vote for issues and I vote for people that have integrity and trust. But recently, because I'm tweeting a lot about civil liberties and freedom and not allowing authoritarianism into our world and ruining the fucking future for my children, then people call me Trump-tard. They call me, oh, now you're a Republican. Oh, now. And so I was like, well, okay, well, let me go see. Maybe I am. I don't know. You can take this at here's the address, politicalcompass.org. It's kind of fun. They'll ask you, I don't know how many questions, a lot. And I found out I'm exactly what I thought I was. I am a moderate libertarian. I am exactly what I thought I was, and I've always been. I wrote some of the things I'm for. I'm for freedom in all ways, always. I'm for the minimum amount of taxes incurred while also supporting the maximum amount of social justice and welfare programs that actually help and support versus being wrought with corruption and fraud. And I'm for a very small amount of reasonable, logical governance. Those are the main things. And I think all
Where did
that
you
matters.
actually take this
So politicalcompass.org.
I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah, go take it and see where you're at. And for our viewers, if they want to go take it, it's kind of fun. But I think the point is that, I didn't change. I know that. But the political sphere is shifting, right? Beliefs are shifting. And people, because their ideological bias towards a certain party and their commitment to a certain party won't allow themselves to change, right? It's just, I have to, and that's what's just so ridiculous. Like, who cares? Republican, Democrat, who the fuck cares? The point is that we have a beautiful, wonderful, healthy society. We love each other. We're connected, not divided, right? And so people are like, so what would you do then with this COVID? Because for those who still think somehow that mandates and masks and more vaccines are going to, number one, you're going to, I would say there's three things you need to do. Like, number one, accept that shit doesn't work. And it only creates an authoritarian government that once you give them the power, do you think they're ever going to stop? No, it only gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Not to mention, you have to accept that the fact that every single person is going to get it if you haven't already, right? And knowing that for the vast majority, 99.7% of you are going to be just fine. You are going to be just fine. All the fear porn, all the hysteria, have people died? Yes. A lot of them with COVID. We know this because 90% have 2 or more comorbidities. We need people out there to talk about this logical stuff. So the first step would just be accept. You have to accept all those things. Number 2, prepare. Take your vitamin D, take your zinc, take your vitamin C, have on your horse paste. I won't say the name because otherwise this video will get banned because you cannot say the name. Be prepared. Just like a cold or a bad flu, you need to be prepared. I mean, that's another thing we talk about. Well, hospitals are overrun. Well, people are so fucking scared that they get a cough and they're running to the hospital. We've forgotten that viruses happen in society. Sickness happens. You almost need it. Kids, I heard, were way more sick this year because there's an immune deficiency, right? You need to be around each other. That's the point, right? And number 3 is turn off the news. Just fucking turn it off. Like, always turn it off. Like, it's time to move forward. It's time to let go. Like, when I read things about people saying how they still haven't seen their grandchild for 2 years because it's not vaccinated, and I feel so saddened for a society which says that we're all in this together and we're doing it so that we don't be selfish, who does these kind of things. And I'm so saddened that they can't see, like, that somehow this political ideology, because that is what it is. It's not about health. Not once have we even discussed health in 2 years. Has any of our government, our leaders, our health institutions come out and discussed health? It's a political statement. It's a political move. It's a political ideology, and it's separating all of us. And we can't let it. And that is the problem always. When you say whether it's billionaires or the 1%, you can see how it happens, but you can't be mad at those. There's always going to be people who are going to be greedy, who are going to try to control things, who are going to try to get all the money. But they will never, ever, ever be able to do it if we don't let them. It's always our issue. And that, I think that's where, when you say, do we succeed? And I said, well, but how? Because it's not like state by state. It's people by people. It's people that see and people that don't. It's people that insist on being free, on living the American ideal that this country was founded on. And those that accept that, no, we have somebody that tells us what to do and how to do it and how to think and what to do, and then we're going to be safe. And that's not true. That's communism. And that's what we're trying to usher in through all of this, if we don't fight hard enough.
And it would be so easy to sort of change how politics are done. And we've talked about this several times, but if they could just find some integrity and decide that they were going to, prohibit dollars coming from lobbyists and big pharma and big tobacco, and big this and big that, right? And you could only accept, 25 cents per constituent, something like that. I mean, literally, that would be enough to get a few TV commercials and put your message out there and some flyers and all that kind of stuff. You could definitely change the way that politics are run. I feel like in my travels across the United States, and this has been since I was a kid, my parents always made sure to take us out. Like, literally 2 or 3 weeks of every year, we were traveling around the United States. My mom and dad had this huge 5th-wheel trailer, and we would go. I saw literally half the United States before I was probably 10 years old. And I can say that, yes, there have been times when I have experienced what I know to be racist / bigoted / prejudiced individuals. No doubt about it. It's just the truth. 90% of the time, 95% of the time, people are just people. And I found that, by the way, like, even as an adult sitting at the poker table, how just everybody comes from every background at a poker table, right? I mean, literally, there's just everything at a poker table. And 9.5 out of 10 people are just there to have fun, meet people, talk to people. And I think that's basically just a representation of humanity. So I don't think that that's special or unique. I think that somehow, some way, there's going to have to be a grassroots initiative for the regular people, you, me, our neighbors, to honestly get together and make America great, right?
Yes,
I hate
for the first time.
I hate make America. Yes, I hate make America great again. I've told you why I hate that. I find it offensive, but I would be behind make America great any day of the week. And I think that we could do that if we would just start to really think for ourselves. And we talk about this all the time, you and I. If we would just really begin to think for ourselves, because even when you and I have had sort of our biggest arguments about even just this stuff, right? Not personal stuff, but just like this stuff that we've gotten into, like, real legitimate arguments about, I would say almost all the time, we find ourselves coming back to some place of like, oh, okay, yeah, we can meet right here. Mm-hmm. Right here was kind of rough. but we came around and we met right here and we're like, oh, wait a minute, we're not really that far off. I mean, you like spaghetti and meatballs. I like, lasagna. I mean, hey, they're kind of, they're similar. We both get enjoy, right? I mean, it's just, that's, I feel like we can do that on a larger scale if it was organized. Now, I'm not saying I know how to organize it because I don't think I do, but I don't think social media is the way, because social media, I think, has lost its way.
I used to think that way, but I think you have to see all of it. You have to see the disorganization in order to organize it. I used to think that social media was trash. That's why I was never on Twitter. But I do truly believe that by speaking what I feel is the truth, speaking my truth about, the way of the world, that, slowly by slowly, if you affect one person and they affect one person, right, it's a domino effect. And the truth has to be known. And without social media, if we simply had the news media and what we now see about how that should be having a slant, right? Like you said, 95% of your experience has been very positive in life with all races, right? But the news, like 99% of their stories are inflammatory, discussing how racist the world is. You have to be able to understand, and my own lived experience isn't that. And ask why. Well, I mean, when you think about it, well, okay, they're selling stories. Division sells, fear sells. And then you have to be able to combat that. Now, the good thing about social media, even though it has a lot of shit on it, is that you get real people really talking, right? And you see the good and the bad, and some of it you don't want to see, but there's no agenda for the vast majority, unless they're from the bot farms, the communist bot farms, which are another issue. But like, you literally, and there's bot farms for every issue, right? You have to be able to, number one, trust yourself, number two, think for yourself, and number three, see through all of that and understand that we already are like connected way more than we're told. That's the thing. And we just have to remember. So, you and I talk about a lot, and sometimes you might have a fatalistic feeling about it. You're like, oh no, I think we're not. But I think that's because the news makes you feel that way. When you step away from it and you understand, like, wait, no, we can, like you said, like you and I, even when we argue, eventually we're like, what are we arguing about? We can come back on this. Any media story never comes back on it. It's just inflammatory and push and push and push. And then if somebody finds out, like, well, this story is wrong, you're completely wrong, they never go back, they never change it, they never correct it. It's just on to the next fear, hysteria, terror.
Unless
right?
they feel like they're going to be sued, then they put out some
one
sort of
line,
legal,
like one line. Yeah.
We were not completely accurate about this.
Yes, yeah. I think the good thing about terrible shit happening is almost, you need conflict to create peace. You almost do. You need that hard push to remind people what it is we're doing, and I think a lot of people are slowly starting to realize it, right? It's taken 2 years.
And not to sort of change the trajectory of the conversation and make it negative, but this has to be stated as well. In that same poll that I was looking at about the succession thing, which I thought was so interesting and funny, if people could actually see it from the perspective I see it from, we probably would get off of this. But the same percentage, the exact same percentage on both sides of the aisle, red and blue, right, and independents alike, all felt like the country is headed towards civil war. But do you realize that means that we all are like, we're all ready to fight, but the numbers should really speak to, we all feel the same way, like, and we all think we hate the other side, and that's why we want to be in civil war. But the real truth of it is, we all hate what we feel is pushing down on us, which is causing pressure on all of us. And it makes you turn to the left and the right and say, I hate this person, I hate this person, I hate everything that they stand for. I was coming out of a bank in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, I have never told you this story, and I just realized, you know what? You got me with that one. Okay, listen, I was coming out of a bank in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, and I was down there for work, and I was always kind of leery of being in the South. Anytime I'm in the South, I sort of, I got my head on swivel, just waiting for somebody to go crazy on me, which literally has never happened to some of the nicest people in the world I met in the South. But anyway, this dude's walking up to me, big white dude. I mean, and you know, when I'm saying someone's big, that's a big dude, because I'm a big dude. And he was huge. He just took up a lot of real estate. And he's walking in the bank, and I'm walking out of the bank, and I must have had like my, you know, don't F with me, like, you know, I'm ready face. And he looks at me and he walks up to me, and the dude gave me a hug, a complete stranger. And I just was so like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening here. I just hugged him back, patted him on the back. I was like, please don't rob me. I was thinking, don't rape me, don't rob me, please. I'm so fragile. And he said, you know what, man? He said, when you're walking out of a bank, give the guy a smile. And I was like, oh, man, he got me. I'm the nicest guy on earth. And he basically just told me, like, I'm frowning at him. And he just gave me a hug. And I actually hold on to that little scenario from time to time, just remembering that, like, people are basically good. I mean, they really are. They're basically good.
Good. I'm going
this guy took a real chance, like, because he could have gone to hug me and I could have just like punched him in his chest or something, like, you know, whatever. And he just was like, I'm just gonna show this guy like I love him.
When you know that people are basically good, you know they're not going to punch you in the chest. That's the thing, is that the worst part about the COVID policies and why it is so damaging to me, you know, a lot of times you're like, oh, you're focused on it too much, but I have to, because you know, the worst part about it is the disillusionment and the dissociation and the disconnection with all of our fellow man. I mean, that's the worst part. You know, that was the first step that needed to happen in order to get everything else through. Right? Is we have to be separated.
But
we have
saw
to
that coming.
You know, and it's the policies that we made about people dying alone. People said, "Oh, I wasn't with my mother when they died." I was like, that we did that. That we like. No, we literally all need to hug it out. Like, I don't care if you hate a person. You cannot not hug them and then just be like, all right, whatever, let's go on with life. You know, like you can still disagree with people. You don't have to. I mean, we're not going to ever agree on everything. Like we think somehow like we're going to succeed. And then you think somehow those same people that you succeeded with, somehow you're going to just agree on everything forever. Like, that's not how life works. You got to learn how to take number one responsibility for your own shit, and then just, you know, live your life. Stop worrying about everybody else.
And the funny thing about it is, for anyone that has an eye to see, you know doggone well that the media and all these people who are making money off of all this COVID nonsense and all of this are literally going to have a variant for each letter of the Greek alphabet, and then figure out a way to keep going. As long as the people let them keep going, alpha, beta, delta, sigma, gamma, I don't care. Listen, they're going to literally come up with a variant for each Greek letter. And I thought about that this morning when I was like, Omicron. I was like, wait a minute, I used to know the Greek alphabet. Is that a Greek letter? Like, are we now just like coming up with words for like different variants? Like,
it sounds like a transformer, Omicron. So like the villain,
it would be like the worst transformer ever. It would just be like, you know,
I think that's it. You know, they're going to play the game until it can't be played anymore. Right. And we're, you know, like you said, now that you see, and a lot more people are starting to see, and, you know, the game is playing out because people aren't going to be fooled anymore. And that's just the thing that is really unfortunate, is that what people don't realize is what they're finally seeing now didn't just happen now. This is how it's always been from day one, that we literally ruined our country, our world. We ruined society. We ruined our feelings towards humanity for a game that some people with money wanted to play, and we let them. And so hopefully the people that are waking up though now and seeing this will stay awake and won't let this happen again.
Well, the thing is, so yes, I agree with you. But the thing is like, what is it going to take? Because, and please don't tell me, you know, it's about voting the right people in, but what is it going to take to change the narrative about all of this? Like, are we really going to go about the rest of our lives with mask and 6 feet of distance and wiping down boxes with sanitizer and all the stuff that we do now that honestly clearly does not have a positive effect on not only just societal connection, obviously, but deaths. It's not even improving the amount of people that supposedly die of this thing. Now, before you answer, because I want you to have an answer for that, I just remembered this because you actually brought it up a little while ago. I was listening to a radio program in which a lady was a guest, and she was like this renowned doctor or something like that. And she was like, I don't think people really realize that no one's talking about what could actually turn around all of this in terms of COVID and that and such, meaning it's nutrition and health. She was like, everyone that I see come in that's gotten hit badly with COVID literally has at least 2 things that could kill them on their own. And she was like, it's always a direct result of the way that you live. Okay, you can have the floor.
Well, I mean, and that's how I knew when you said, oh, I didn't know from the beginning. I knew from the beginning. That's how I knew. When I told you in the casino, when people were coming in January of 2020 saying, aren't you worried this is coming? I said, no, like if this was a plague, if this was a harbinger of death, it hit a child and kill him instantly. You know, that then you'd be worried. Then society would not have needed a narrative. You would not need any of this. We would all have been under our bed still. You know, those are things like, again, lived experience, seen with your own eyes. What they've said is not at all what actually happened, right? And the number one thing, which you cannot discuss, is being healthy. That's the number one thing. It's perhaps why it hit our country way worse than most, because we're affluent and fat. You know, we had it good for so long.
Yeah, but yes. But isn't that a result of the same thing we're talking about with regards to like the people at the top making all the money off of COVID vaccines, so forth and so on? Isn't the reason why we probably aren't talking about health because McDonald's is probably one of the top 10 corporations in this country? Do you realize how much money the McDonald's and the Burger Kings and the Jack in the Box and the Del Tacos and the Taco Bells and all this kind of stuff? Do you realize how much money would be lost if people actually like stopped eating at those places? When I started my health journey out, the first thing I did was cut out fast food. That was literally the first thing. And then the second thing was like, now I need to watch sugar intake and all of that kind of stuff. Going to the gym and all that, here's a funny little secret. You could actually like lose weight and get in shape without going to a gym. I like going to a gym because I like going and lifting weights and doing cardio and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to actually do that to change your numbers, because I get blood work done every 3 months, and literally for the past few years, it's always improved because I'm always improving. And there was a time period when I went back the other way and everything started going back the other way. There is literal concrete proof that whatever I'm putting inside my mouth is affecting everything.
Absolutely. And that's literally the whole issue with COVID, literally. You know, I mean, I don't know of one single story of somebody who was a completely healthy young person that just killed over from COVID. But the news will have you think that's what's happening. So much so that, you know, people are terrified for their children. And it's not that. I forgot what your original question was, because you remember you told me I want you to answer that, but then you said all this other stuff and I can't remember what the question was.
What was it? I actually forgot too.
Whatever. But anyways, I'm very happy. All your kind words today. I'm very happy we have this recorded.
I was about to say we have to erase
so this
episode
I will
air.
Just point to it next time the major catastrophe happens and I tell you like it is and you don't want to believe me. I'm just going to point to the timestamp on here and just save ourselves a lot of time.
You better just hope my second prediction does not come true and you don't run out of your house and get tackled and stabbed in the butt with a vaccine pin.
Well, listen, what I'm reading, I just downloaded because it was on sale. I downloaded the ebook. It's Can you see that? The real Anthony Fauci.
Oh, see, I didn't want to go there, but I had thoughts. I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts.
I'm going to read it. So, well, Robert F. Kennedy is a known conspiracy theorist. Again, who are the people
I actually
saying
was
that?
listening to him the
Who
other
are
day.
the people
I don't know why.
smear campaigning him? Who are the people? And so, and again, Robert F. Kennedy is a major lawyer, a very successful one. He fights against Monsanto to get poison out of our water and our plants. He's fighting for humanity. He's fighting.
Is he a Democrat? I imagine he's a Democrat.
I have no
right?
idea. I have no idea. I don't care. I mean,
No,
he's fighting for safety.
But that's a major point, because if he's a Democrat and he has the things to say that he has to say, I would imagine that it would give him even more credence, because
I mean, he doesn't need credence. Like, the thing is, he can write this book, and I imagine it's going to be inflammatory against Anthony Fauci, but he's a lawyer. He knows that he cannot lie, or he will get sued his pants off. The fact that, nobody's talked about this book, it's been #1 on Amazon, even though there's no mainstream media about it, none, right? So, they'll have you believe he's a conspiracy theorist, yet, I've told you this before. My idea about the Kennedys is that they were born into the elites, right? The whole family, they're born into the elites. Some of them have made bad choices, just like all of us. But they were born into the elites, and they try to help humanity from inside, right? And a couple of them lost their lives for it. And now the smear campaign on him. I think if they could, they would probably want to try to assassinate this guy too. It's just much harder to do these days. So just be careful what you think based on what others say. You never know.
When we first started out this thing, I thought Anthony Fauci was like the most unnecessarily reviled individual ever. I was like, why is everyone hating this dude who's just trying to help? I watched a program on him yesterday
about AIDS and HIV,
everything, and I was like, what? Like Tony Fauci, little Tony Fauci with the raspy voice? Is that what we're talking about? Dude, this dude's got his hands. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna get this episode.
We'll have another episode about him after I read this, because I want to read it. And honestly, I've never once even really considered Fauci in all this, even though he's the science. And I understand that, just like the system, he's a puppeteer. He's a puppet, and the puppeteers are pulling the strings. Like, it's
if what this program was contending was true, and I'm not saying it is, viewers, I'm just saying what they said. Anthony Fauci actually makes money on the proliferation.
Of course he does.
Of vaccines.
They have patents. We've talked about this before.
No. But I'm saying, like, there's like concrete data that shows. I don't know if I can even say this. I don't want to get our episode.
Let's not.
Okay.
But you know what? I want to say that I think I told you that maybe a year ago, and when talking about Kennedy and saying that he had information about that, and you're like, that's ridiculous, right? So I'm so happy that we're coming full circle. But I honestly don't care about individual people. I don't care about Fauci. I want to read it because I want to know truth. That's what I want to know. And I believe in somebody like Robert Kennedy. I believe he's working for humanity, all while being disparaged and smeared for it. These are the people that actually work for humanity, not companies like Pfizer and their henchmen and their face like Fauci. These people.
Let me ask you a hypothetical question. Mm-hmm. Purely hypothetical.
Oh, okay.
What would you do if you found out that someone who was, say, in Anthony Fauci's position, right? Whoever, doesn't matter, actually worked with that Wuhan lab that COVID actually came out of for some years? Like, wouldn't that be kind of jarring to you to know? But not even the fact that hypothetically he could have worked there or worked with them, but the fact that he denied it. So if you actually accepted it and said, oh yeah, I've done work with them in the past, you'd be like, okay, well, he's copping to it. I mean, so what? He consulted, he made some money, whatever. But if you did it and you're denying it and you're in charge of everything that goes on with supposedly mitigating it, doesn't that constitute like the biggest conflict of interest and the history of
Oh
conflict
my
of interest.
God.
Like,
These are all
I'm-
things I've said to you before. Exactly. Like, but see, to me, I have accepted that from day one. I'm like, why is this guy who created the virus now telling us how we're meant to stop them? Because
I didn't say that.
there's investments to it. Again, this is how the world is run. Okay. But again,
That's pretty
they
bad.
cannot do it if we don't allow it. It's very simple. We have to see so that we can not accept, right? And seeing matters and starting to see that. So it's very, very hard to see though, because the mainstream media and our governance and our leaders and all those people, right? It's the narrative is strong, right? That the vast majority will even fight for that narrative. And you're like, no, you don't see. And that's the hardest part for me is other average society members like myself who are literally willing to die to defend a narrative that's a lie. And then what do you have? Do you have money in this? You don't even have, like, Fauci makes sense. He's making billions, millions, whatever. Like, why are you defending it? And that's just how it infects, our society. This is how we get divided. We simply just have to see that, number one, we all love each other. We're all connected. Nobody can tear us apart if we don't allow it. That's it. But yeah, I'm going to read that book. I'll let you know how it is. I haven't started yet. I'm still working on another. Right now, I'm actually reading a good book by Carl Jung, the psychologist, right? And it's about something in the undiscovered self. And it's about individualism versus society. Is super good, obviously. In today, is talking about how in society we've lost sight of the individual, and the problem with that is when you do that, which we're doing now, right? Oh, it's for the greater good, and it's for society. You're selfish if you don't do this, right? It's those kind of things that collectivism, which makes each individual lose sight of themselves. And like you and I have talked a lot about, is that we all have to do our own inner work in order to, fight our own demons and figure out our own shit and see the truth, right? Take the red pill. And when we don't, we get swept up in any of this collectivism in the society. It becomes almost our religion to believe right, left, whatever we're told, this is it. It matters to be individual. It matters to have, individual civil liberties. It matters to have individual personal autonomy. These are things that's why the founding fathers wrote our Constitution, understanding coming from tyrannical regimes, like to ensure that we don't do that going forward. It matters. Like, it's everything. So I'm reading that first, and then I'll read this, and then we can have a whole, you can tell me about that documentary, and I'll talk about this book, and we can have a whole Anthony Fauci one. But honestly, I feel like, I said puppeteer, but I mean a puppet. I mean, honestly, I feel like he's just a face. He's a puppet. Of course, he's making a ton of money off of this stuff, but he's just, put there so, the public have somebody to listen to, and people just buy into it. Like, he's their God. It's like, oh yeah, whatever he says. And it's like, this is so stupid. Like, he literally contradicts himself. I mean, if he talks for longer than 10 minutes, he goes around in circles and says the opposite of what he just said. Like, what? How does the whole world listen to this? I don't understand.
I'm going to do my last will and testament before we do the Fauci episode.
Why? I mean, I think that's the thing about
that.
Understanding that once you see, it is hard because people, oh, no, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, no, you got your information from Facebook. Oh, and you're like, no, actually, I didn't. You know how I did get my information? I read, I watched, I did so much investigating, way more than you can possibly imagine. But you think somehow you know the truth because the headlines told you. I think that's what's hilarious, is that the other people are conspiracy theorists, but they're the truth sayers because MSNBC told them.
Well, you know what? I like actually listening to conspiracy theories, and I like listening to sort of whatever the main party line stuff is. And I like to kind of find my way through the mud myself.
Me too.
And I kind of feel like conspiracy theories, for the most part, I mean, obviously there's some way out conspiracy theories out there in the world that just are like, yeah, you got to prove that. And I can't buy that. But anyway, I have a feeling that a lot of conspiracy theories are kind of like that saying that many a truth is said in jest, right? You say something that you actually believe, but it's kind of like ha ha ha, tongue in cheek, but you really kind of feel it. I feel like conspiracy theories probably come from a place where there's a great deal of truth, and then maybe some of it just got spun out of control, and then it kind of delegitimizes the actual, real narrative of whatever is being stated. But I'll tell you right now that I have I've done like a 180, especially when it comes to Fauci. Oh my, there's a lot to learn about this individual, and I'm not saying he's a horrible man or something like that. It's not my place to judge somebody like that, but you can't get up in front of the American public and say A, and then 2 days later say B.
That's all they've done from the beginning. They've said, hey, I have videos upon videos of here's what we're not going to do. Here's what we are going to do. Then a month later, here's what we're not going to do. Here's what we are. And the public will continue to die for them.
I don't have a problem with people like changing their mind or learning something that changes their mind, and then they come back and they give you better information or whatever. That's sort of not what I'm saying. I'm saying like today is Tuesday, and I'm telling you A. And in an hour or two, I'm going to tell you B. And nothing has changed in the ethos, nothing, except I just have an agenda to tell you B. I've seen a lot. And I'm just like, wow, this is, and I gotta be honest with you, and I mean this in all seriousness. No, I shouldn't say it. I won't say it. Never mind.
I was thinking about this. I was like, do you know why the caged bird sings?
Why does the caged bird sing?
Well, I mean, some people have a lot of reasons, but I think it's because it doesn't know any better. It doesn't, we have this ideal of what we are as society. And like you said, we're not necessarily free as we're told we are, right? We didn't know any better. But now through COVID and through all of this, a lot of people have begun to see, and we do know better. And we know like this, we don't want this cage anymore. Like, no, thanks.
But you realize what these caged birds see is that they are not free. And that is where the sort of groundswell comes from. I don't buy, that's why I've always told you, I don't buy the freedom that you sort of espoused, that you felt, even prior to all of this. That's why every time you bring up freedom, I literally ask you, okay, well, explain to me again, what is freedom?
Again, we have to go by as close as we can get. Of course, there's so many. It's just like we're not in it. People want to bash.
And by the way, I'm not talking racially. I'm not. What I'm saying has nothing to do with race. I'm talking about as an American citizen, regardless of your race, religion, whatever. I think that we are all subject to some very, very, very powerful and clandestine entities, families, organizations that we never hear about. Now, I'm not talking about all, Illuminati conspiracies and all that. Maybe Illuminati is real. I don't know. I tend to think no, just because there's so much talk about them. The ones that you never hear about are the ones that worry me.
Again, do you know why the cage bird sings? Because we didn't know any better. But now we do, and that's when you can make change, right? Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I think a lot of people bash capitalism. Oh, capitalism is so greedy. But if this was actually a free market as it's meant to be, free capitalist society without intervention from people who are filling their own pockets, like we've seen with pharma and how they're running the world now, right? Because the government, they've allowed them to come in and put money in all the hands and change the world with their own narrative. If in a real free market capitalist society, without any intervention, without any corruption, society, I believe, will be as free as possible, right? So that's the issue. Is we have to understand that, the system that's being created and how we fix that. And does that mean voting new people? I think that's very small. I think it becomes with us. We have to demand that these changes are happening. This is not going to do. No, we won't stand for this. No, but we have to be able to see it. We have to be able to understand we're in the cage, right? We have to stop singing and be like, oh, get me the fuck out of this cage right now.
So you realize you don't have to look any further than 2008 and Too Big to Fail to realize that American capitalism is a facade. Because if American capitalism was what we always were taught it was, there would be several huge companies out of business right now, and the landscape of the stock market
and they should
would look
have
totally different.
and they should have. That's what a real, and that's the issue. We have a lot of these issues. People like, oh, capitalism is so terrible. These people they're fucking hugely rich because they're allowed by people in the governments who take money for their own pocket to make adjustments for them, to allow them to be monopolies, to, in a real free market society, there'd be competition, and there would be, I don't say fighting, but I guess, right, real competition amongst markets, and they would move freely, but we don't allow it. So that's not capitalism's problem. That's our problem. It's our system's problem. And that's the basis of basically everything. It's figuring out that our system is faulty and we have to fix it, and little by little. But it really, really, really starts with each individual. It starts with me and you. Can't allow them to make us homogenized into just a faceless society. And we can't accept that. That's literally moving towards communism. That's just accepting that we're going to be a communist country. No, we are individuals, accepting our responsibility in our life and for our community. And that's why I start talking out about this stuff so much, because I'm just like, you know what, I have to. It's time, and once we each do that, it's going to be much harder for them to do all of this corrupt shit. And like you said, now that you see it so much with COVID. I mean, just so much shit right in front of your face that is just blatant lies and corruption just in front of people, just right in front of you. It's like, did you watch Dope Sick, right? Like, they're literally doing the same playbook, like just right in front of our faces for those who will see. And you're just like, wow, have they always just gotten away with this stuff? And I think yes, right?
Yeah, but again, Nichoel, that playbook has been being used for decades.
But how? But did we know
many
it?
Different issues.
We did not. But that's what I'm saying. But did we know it? That's the thing. Now that we do,
everybody that I knew, heard of, talked to, whatever, in 2008 was like, oh my God, this country will let any mom and pop store go out of business without a moment's hesitation, but let AEG, Goldman Sachs, all the rest of these big investment firms have any sort of financial hiccup, and they're literally writing checks from taxpayers funded,
it's a corrupt system. Yeah. But
I think that's when I first was just like, wow, like they can, honest to God, get away with anything.
Well, but they can't when we wake up. They cannot. When all
it's gonna take
of us,
a lot more people waking up. Lot more people waking up.
And that's why,
a lot more people are gonna have to stop being caught up in who do you hate and who and why do you hate them and all this kind of stuff. And just
keeping us divided is allowing them to do whatever they want. So again,
what we need is an alien invasion.
No, we don't.
I'm talking about, we do. Because at that point, humans would just have to be like, bro, you got a heart beating in your chest. You got a heart beating in your chest. Let's go get them.
Well, I mean, we can do that now without an alien invasion. Like, we literally could do that right now if people were just not so stupid. But yeah, to bring it back to the secession part before we close it is that's why I was confused. We're like, oh, we succeed as a state. Like, the hard part is like, how would you even, like, who do you want to secede with? Like, who do you, like, people are saying, oh, society, I can't live with them, on either side, the people who want the mandates and the people who don't, and I can't live with that guy. Like, again, we're just allowing everything to divide us. Like, I want us to find a way through with love, because that's the only way to have a healthy society. It's just, all this division is ridiculous, but we can't let them do that to us. And the media has to own a very big responsibility in that. Very much. They didn't cause it, but they have a responsibility for perpetuating this narrative of constant division and fear and terror. And we have to realize that so we can let them go. I'm going to send you a good, when we're done here, I'm going to send you this really good video of Glenn Greenwald he was speaking at a college in like 2016, and it's just about like national security but he's a journalist who I really respect. So like, there's not a lot of independent journalists left, actual journalists left. I don't think, like you say, even the media, the news, most of them are just characters, right? They're playing a character, they're playing a role. half the time, a lot of their stuff is just scripted for him anyway. Like he's actually, the journalist said, interviewed Snowden. So if you saw the movie, the fictionalized movie based on the story, like, you know, it was him. But I really think we have to push for more, and it's happening. There's a lot of like Substack, which is an independent newsletter forum. It's, you know, a lot of independent journalists are coming in. So, you know, society is shifting and it's changing. And I truly believe all, you know, the bad shit will only make us better in the long run, as long as they don't break us completely. But I don't think they can. I think people are starting to see, which is good. And I'm going to end it on this note. I was, have been, and always will be right. That's it. And now we can go.
Your connection broke up on that last part, so I have no idea what you said, but hey, this was a great show.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.